session. All good? Thumbs up. So welcome everyone. On behalf of Vladimir and myself, who are the main organisers for this event, Baxter 2025. And it was not quite the conference we had in mind at the start, but nevertheless, we'll all make it a fantastic conference, I'm sure. And as you can see, we're really here to celebrate the life and achievements of our friend and colleague, Rodney James Baxter. So let me start. So I'm going to, in the first talk here, I'm just going to capture Rodney's sort of life and career, which is a pretty big job, actually, because as you'll see, his life and career is large. So hopefully I haven't missed any of the key things. So, and of course, I'll try to squeeze it all into half an hour. So we'll see how I go. But I have just nevertheless tried to capture the essential highlights. Okay, and some of you here will know many of the things here, but I think some of you will see some things you haven't seen previously. So Rodney was born on the 8th of February 1940 in London, and this photo I've taken from the book that he wrote, and I'll refer to that at the very end. And it's a book that he wrote about 10 years ago now, and you can download it online. So here he is preparing to start at school, where, according to, in his own words, he did well at mathematics, and he naturally sort of veered to the sciences. So this was the thing he felt most at home with. So then after a successful time there, he went to Cambridge, I should say up to Cambridge, to sit and pass the scholarship examination for Trinity. And this is a picture of him actually rowing on the Cam. I'm sure several of you have walked past there, but not been on the water. So he started there as an undergraduate student in the autumn of 1958. And in his last year, he actually specialised in mathematical physics. So again, it's a photo from his book. So after graduating with the first, Rodney applied for a PhD scholarship to the ANU. He was successful and arrived in Sydney in September 1961 after a very long trip on the boats. And in those days, apparently ANU was offering quite attractive scholarships. So it was quite, you know, nice to accept that. So his supervisor, as many of you know, was Kenneth Lakuta. Some of you probably met him here in the past. So Rodney submitted his PhD thesis aspects of the statistical mechanics of gases. And it's fair to say that Kenneth Lakuta essentially let Rodney work on whatever he wanted to. So he was a very uncontrolling supervisor, if you like. And then, not thinking of himself as an academic, Rodney went back to London, actually. He thought he should get a job, a real job, not as an academic. So he got a job with the Iraq Petroleum Company. But after 5 months of that, he decided, well, that wasn't really for him. So I think Ken Lakuta was in contact with him quite regularly, and he was always trying to encourage him back here to ANU. So Rodney arrived back in Canberra in June 1965. And this is the aspect that not many of you will know about, and certainly not me, that at this time, and slightly in his undergraduate time in Cambridge as well, he became involved with sort of amateur theatre. So he acted in several plays here in Canberra, which quite surprised me because I had no idea. So that's the Canberra. So he was in London, he came to Canberra, he went back to London, then came back. So then Kenneth Lakuta sort of realized that Rodney should maybe get some more international experience. So he advised him to seek a job somewhere, and the one he accepted was an offer from Elliot Lee, who at that time was just taking up a job at MIT. So Rodney was a lecturer there, like he taught first-year calculus and things like that. So he was due to start there in October 1968, but before then he had met and married Elizabeth. So that I think so they sort of married in time that she could join him on the trip. And here they are, actually, on their wedding day. Looking very happy, I might add. So at MIT, actually, Rodney shared an office with Colin Thompson and Douglas Abraham. The three of them attended one of Joel Lebowitz's regular staff meetings at Yeshiva, where they met many famous names in the field, including Lars Onsager, Katz, and others. So after returning to Australia in 1972, actually, Colin Thompson organised the first Australian stat meetings in Melbourne in 1973. And so began this regular series. And then Rodney would organise the ones here in Canberra, which many of us attended. Then Rodney, actually, when Rodney was at MIT, I think Kenneth Lakuta actually showed up in Rodney's office and said, here's a job, come back now. So Rodney accepted that, and he stayed here ever since, from this 1971. So he sort of rose through the ranks of fellow, senior fellow, professorial fellow, and professor, before he retired in 2002. I think Rodney always had this plan in mind, that he always thought that he wanted to retire around 63 or something like that. He thought this was a sort of special age for retiring. So then he settled into family life in Canberra. This is Rodney and Elizabeth with their son and daughter, Anne and Andrew. So this is also taken from one of Rodney's articles, so I'll refer to it at the end. So then Rodney had many colleagues here at ANU. He was here for such a long time, so you recognise some of the names here. These were research fellows in the Department of Theoretical Physics, which used to exist on the other side of campus. And I've just listed the ones here who have publications with Rodney and the year that these publications are in. So Ian Enting was here for quite a while, Paul Pierce, Reinhard Quispel, and then Vladimir came in, was it 1990? Yes. So, and of course, Vladimir stayed on after that. And then others at ANU with joint publications were the ones over on this side of the campus. That's my supervisor, Michael Barber. He had an early paper with Rodney in 1973 when he was here originally, before he came back in the mid-80s. And then I have 2 publications as well. So that's the colleagues at ANU. Then PhD students, there's not a lot, 5. In fact, I was trying to find a letter so I originally wrote to Rodney, and it must have been at late 1983 or something, asking him if he could be my supervisor, because this is the subject I wanted to work on. But he wrote back, and I'm still trying to find the letter that he wrote. I have it somewhere, but unable to find it. But he said, no, sorry, I can't. I already have 1 student. So, and you can see who that student was. Peter Forrester. So then after this, he had some more, and you'll recognize some of these names. And of course, 3 of them are going to speak later in the conference. So that's the list of students. And this is Peter Forrester after he went, after he won the prize for the best PhD thesis. So I thought I'd include that one. So I've taken a lot of photos here from the Baxter family album, actually. So thank Elizabeth for letting me have a look through that. So you'll see quite a few coming up in the near future. So then once Rodney had a permanent job here, he was able to travel around. So he accepted various visiting positions around the world. He went to Stony Brook twice, Edinburgh, Cambridge. He took up a post there, actually, Royal Society Research Professor, just for a short time. And then he went to Berkeley when Jones was there. Jones also used to come to Canberra quite often, as you'll see. So over the years, Rodney attracted many people here, actually, and for young people like me, that was fantastic. So then I got to meet all of the famous names that you see on various publications. So Fred Wu came in the early 70s, George Andrews, we'll hear more about during this conference. Jean-Marie Maillard is here. Eleanor Yang, we'll hear from Jacques Perk. Barry McCoy, I saw he's watching at the moment, and the Bona Nienhuis will hear from him as well. So here's one of the photos I rated from the Baxter family album. This is Jean-Marie in 1985, right? And with this kangaroo in the foreground here. I thought it was a rock or something like that, but it's actually a kangaroo. But that was the first trip you came on, right? So I think I was on campus here then, and I think I saw you walking around. So this photo I thought I would include at the last moment, because it's got Tony and Ian here, who were also collaborators with Rodney at various times. And this is one of the ANU STEPMEC meeting. So that's a nice one to include for this little snapshot. Here's another one, 89. You recognize all of these names. Andreas is here, so that's good. Back to back, sitting with Elizabeth. This one as well, Jacques Perk and Vladimir here in Molonglo Gorge. I'm not sure this is July 1989 though. I'm not 100% sure. So this is Jim Maguire, who used to come to Australia a lot, actually. So as you can see, Rodney and Elizabeth used to take the people out into the countryside. So I think Rodney really enjoyed that. He's with Yuri Stroganov, the first time I met him. And then Kunabar as well. is it slow here? You might be watching.
Well, this year.
He's floating around. So this was another one. So Rodney and Elizabeth would regularly host people at their house. And this is one of Frank Yang's trips to Australia and Canberra. So you can recognise some of the people in the background, of course. The Bajanovs and Suo is there as well, and me, and Ruben Chikeng, and yeah, others. So that was good, and I thought I'd put these two in from Baxter 2000. I'll say more about that later. So this is Rodney with Fred Wu and Bernard Niehaus. And this one also I added, also wanted to put in Helen Boyan as well. So this is them. I think this says this is at Christmas time. I think they were out having a party in the Australian summer. And this one, this was a photo taken by me, actually. So this is a rare Yang Baxter photo. So I was very careful to sit them in the correct sort of order. Oops, yeah, that's the second one. And then this one I thought I'd throw in because it was a very influential conference. Because many of the people here, you know, you can see Zemologikov, Cardi sitting next to Rodney there, Miwa, Jimbo, and so on. Bellarvin and Perk and Krunabar is there as well, and Barry McCoy is there too. So I thought I'd throw in that one. Then because we were going to have a speaker from Chongqing, I'll just throw in this one as well, that Rodney did travel around, and Elizabeth traveled around China in 2014, and we'll hear some more about that trip later. So this one was in Chongqing. So now let's come to honours and awards. So Rodney received many prizes over his career. So the first one was the Pawsey Medal from the Australian Academy of Science. And note that he was born in 1940. So, you know, he was relatively, well, he was quite young to be elected to the Royal Society. So 37. Oh, no, sorry, that's the Australian Academy. The Royal Society comes a little later. So then he did quite quickly, though, get the Boltzmann Medal. And here you can read this citation for this. It was mainly to do with the solution of the 8-vertex model and this notion of continuously varying critical exponents. And I think Vladimir will say more about that in the next talk. So then they continue on. So he's elected Fellow of the Royal Society. So he was 42. Then Lyell Medal, Danny Heinemann Prize, Harry Massey Medal, Centenary Medal, Lars Onsager Prize. In fact, this last prize, I actually was in the States at that time, and I accepted it on Rodney's behalf. So I had to carry it carefully back to Australia. I was quite security conscious to bring it back in one piece and everything. So then Lonsang Saga Lecture and Medal in the same year, and Royal Medal. I was going to include a photo of that one, but I left it out. So, and then Peter Baum Award, that was a local ANU thing, and then Henri Poincaré Prize. So I'll skip ahead of here a bit. So then various conferences have been named sort of held in Rodney's honour, and this is a list of them. I've left out, this is mostly it. So there's one I'll say a little more about, this one in 1989. That was an important one, especially for me. Then there was Yang Baxter equations in Paris. I'll say a little more about that. That was mainly organized by Jean-Marie here. Then we had a conference in Seoul. Then we had Baxter 2000, and Baxter 2015, and then 2020. So we tried to coincide these with a significant birthday of Rodney. And so here's the photo. So this conference was held as a special year, as part of a special year here in mathematical physics. So we have to thank Neil Trudinger for that, actually. And this conference, I was a young academic here, so I'm not sure. Yeah, so this is me here. So you've got Rodney, Paul Pierce is here, Vincent Pasquier, Vaughan Jones, Andreas Kumper, Michael Barber, Bernard Nienhaus, Barry McCoy, Peter Forrester, Coropin, Craig Tracy, Jack Perk, Nalini Joshi, Catherine Seaton, Peter Jarvis is there, Angus Hurst, Vladimir Rittenberg. Everyone's there. Anyway, Jim Bowen. That was really fantastic for me. That was a great conference. I took this off the cover page of the Yang Baxter Equations in Paris book. Then we had this conference, and that was a lot of fun as well. I could have included some photos from that one, but we didn't. Then we also had this one. I got the poster for this one as well. So both of these posters were actually designed by Vladimir, right? So he did very well there. And so this was Rodney at the 2015 one in Cairns. I thought I'd put this one up. I've shown it in the past. And you can recognize some of the people in the background there. Wenli Yang, Jinping Sao, John Marie and Tony are there, and others. This was a group photo from Baxter 2020, just here in the stairs there. We were very lucky to sneak this conference in just before COVID. It was just at the edge. So that was great. You'll recognize many of the people there too. And then we've had some journals special issues as well. So there was the one edited by Michael Barber and Paul Pierce for that meeting I showed you here in 1989. And then we had a special issue for Rodney's 60th, but based partly on the Baxter 2000 meeting. And then there was another special issue based around the 2015 one. So it's highly likely we'll have one associated with this as well. There'll be some Baxter memorial special issue to be advised. So I've taken, so this is the sort of front part of the last special issue. Elizabeth took this photo of Rodney at home. Then I've taken some material here from this article that Rodney wrote for that special issue. Just some personal things and academic highlights for him. So I recommend reading that. And this is the book I showed. I've taken some things from. So I'm saying that's freely available. Just do have a search online. So in a sense, Rodney sort of left a lot of, I just had to read it and write it down. So it was all, he wrote things around. So I also like this photo as well, where he's sitting in his office on the other side of campus in the building that's no longer there with a spectacular view of the lake. So that's all I have to say. Rodney is greatly missed, but his legacy will live forever. So thank you.